So the nature of being an entrepreneur is that you felt like there was opportunity to change something about a business, a sector, and you felt impelled emotionally, through will, whatever the case is, to actually go out there and change it. The problem with being a change agent is that you also become the guide. You become the one enabling the change, breaking the rules, changing the rules, enforcing new policies and such. And so there becomes a part where an entrepreneur is so driven by themselves and the change that they're trying to create that they ultimately become too stretched. And this is where entrepreneurs have to make a decision. Either they're in control of everything or they're in control of some things. So a few years ago I decided that I was only going to be in control of some things, and brought in people that I trusted, people that were capable, people who were well-informed and passionate like I, to come in and take on different responsibilities so that not only was the business capable of growing, but that Sasha didn't get in the way, that I didn't become a constraint or a bottleneck because I wanted to make all the decisions. So part of entrepreneurship is deciding what you want to be king of and deciding who you're going to anoint as king, and letting those roles and those kingdoms all contribute to some common goal, a healthier, more productive society of coworkers. Boil down any learning in life to one insight, like if I'm starting a business, what's the #1 thing I should do? Or, and I have to say that that's an unfair burden on both sides. First of all, when you say, what's the one insight, it constrains all of the neighboring insights that are just as important because you're trying to get efficiency out of this. You're like, well, what's the one? So I will just give you a really vague answer, which is ask questions. Don't assume that because there are rules in place that those rules are well-founded. So if you want to know what the #1 insight is for me as an entrepreneur, it has nothing to do with entrepreneurship or being a professor or any of those other things. It has to do simply with life, which is if you assume that all of the guardrails were put there by a master, that all the rules were authored by minds more powerful than you, life will be very boring. Because as we can clearly see by the economic unrest in the United States, our federal government, our state government, our city governments, all screwed, all completely dysfunctional. Our universities, our sports teams, pick, all of them, highly dysfunctional. So why are you governing yourself every day based on guardrails and rules and systems put in place by people who've clearly failed at building those systems? So my #1 piece of guidance is, if you're gonna follow a rule, why not find out where it came from? Figure out if you believe in who authored it and that you want to live your life according to those terms, because there's a very good chance that it was just some egomaniac with a group of followers who said, these are the rules, and they propagated those rules, and those rules have nothing to do with your life, especially in the internet era. So question everything and be very comfortable with that journey. So in my life, the challenged by professor, challenged by teacher, challenged by police, whoever the case is, I don't see those as lulls. I see those as natural parts of the existence of being human. And so, as far as the learning that I would give my younger self would be, there will be as many downtimes as there will be uptimes. And you have to honor both. And you have to respect that when things are really good, you have the right to give yourself a pat on the back, smile at peers, love yourself, love them, etc. But when the valleys show up, that just means that it's time to assess, it's time to back out, think about the choices you're making, think about the way you're treating people, and instead of looking at it as pain and suffering, look at it as learning, look at it as new insight, new information to help you question the rules and break the systems and try new things. But if there is no drama, you will not believe, you will not think that this is real, and therefore it won't become part of you. And so my celebration of life has always been that as the waves come and go, don't just only remember when the waves were big and beautiful and you surfed that 10-foot pipe. Respect that there are days when there are no waves, and sometimes you should just sit on the beach and be. I think any real entrepreneur will tell you that more than half of the time that they have not only failed, but they failed almost to the disgust of all of the people judging them. You know, see, I told you you shouldn't have done that, or see, that rule was not meant to be broken. And part of my programming has always been that if the people who created the systems were imperfect, then the person who's judging me for the choices that I've made is equally as imperfect, as I am imperfect. So I don't let their weight bear down on me. I did as a child though, and it was very emotionally traumatizing. So, for example, as I talk a lot about in public, that I was diagnosed with severe attention deficit disorder as a child, to the point where I was in special education. I was not in normal classes in public school, I was in special ed. And everyone judged me for that. The teachers, the administrators, the pharmacists giving me the medication, the therapists, my classmates, my neighbors, everyone, you know, like, oh, there's the kid with the, you know. And initially I decided that that was a scar that would be permanent and that I would never be able to break free from. But what I quickly came to learn through the guidance of one divine soul, a second divine soul, someone who listened in ways that others had not, is I started to wake up to, well, first of all, I'm not broken. And second of all, my mind just works a little differently than other people's. Just like our minds work differently from one another, and you might be more artistic and you might be more business savvy, and let that be what it is. What I recognized was that I was attuned to the details. They called it attention deficit disorder. I called it maximum attention. I know everything is blatantly apparent to me. Well, instead of that being a pain for me, yes, I cried, yes, I suffered, yes, I felt alone, but eventually, when I got past it and saw it as a mutant weapon of power, rather than something for people to judge me on, I have built an entire career being attuned to the details. That is what it is that I am in. I'm in the branding business. I am a master of the details so that they're clear and consistent and strong and show organizations that are well built. So I took what everyone decided was the worst thing that could ever have happened to me, and I built an empire out of using it as a service. I think that we look at things in this sort of way where if we, let's just say you solved a math problem and you got it wrong, our immediate programming is you failed. You didn't do it right, and therefore you need to know what it feels like to be wrong. Whereas as an adult, as a creator, as a business owner, and an open-minded soul, whenever I write an answer that's wrong, I actually say to myself, for example, I'm running sessions on marker boards all the time, and sometimes I spell a word wrong. And I could say to myself, oh, you idiot, why didn't you spell that word right? Or I could say to myself, I pity the soul who only knows how to spell a word one way. You know, right? I could say to myself, good for you, Strauss, for having a little creativity and recognizing that the English language itself is imperfect. The sequence of letters is imperfect. Why would you hold yourself to such a measure where just because this word was written by this culture and then translated into English and now it's told you that this is how it's spelled? I mean, like, look at the word beautiful. It is not beautiful. B-E-A-U, you know, you gotta like, come on. So spelling things wrong sometimes is actually a sign of creative thought. And that's the way I look at any of the challenges that I'm confronted with. If I get the big no, you did it wrong, I'm like, great, what a cool opportunity for me to think outside the box and find new insights to connect with. Because if I just stayed in a box every day, life would get so boring, so fast. People ask me all the time, you know, is it that you just are happier, or is it that you're just more motivated than other people, or you're just more passionate? No. I cry lots. I am sad lots. But I also respect that life is short, and not only short, but opportunistic. And not only opportunistic, but divine when you pursue opportunities and drive yourself to those destinations. And that's what keeps me every day. Is I almost wake up with a sense of curiosity, like, all right, world, all right, life, what do you got? Let's do this. Let's see what it feels like to confront these challenges and grow from those experiences.